Hi, everyone. I'm Courtney Sale, the Nancy L. Donahue Artistic Director at MRT. And it is just my delight to have my friend, my colleague, my fellow member of the Kindness Club
Oh, that's so
here
sweet.
today, Cheryl West, the amazing and prolific playwright. Cheryl, thank you for joining us this morning.
Happy to be here and Mutual Admiration Society. I love Courtney. And so, yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Um, Cheryl, so as you know, MRT, our focus is on new works. And so we're using this opportunity to kind of get a little insight about writers and their process. And I think for a lot of folks, there's a mythology that playwrights go away in their office and out comes a fully baked play. And
If
so
only.
I know, right?
Yes.
So I wonder if you could maybe talk about your particular rhythm and developing a new play, and of course all the iterations it might go through, and all the the ways in which you engage people around developing a new play.
Well, I actually am in my home office right now. This is where I create sometimes. Sometimes it's in the living room on my laptop. And then I usually don't edit the same place I write. I have a real thing about that. I have to switch my brain to a different environment to be able to see the words differently than I do when I'm creating them. So rewriting to me is revising and rewriting. A particular script may go through 10, 15 rewrites before it even sees a workshop. And then after a workshop where you actually have actors who sort of inform the work for you, and you have a director. Sometimes you have a dramaturg. That's a person I work with often who does a lot of the research for me because I'm usually balancing five or six projects at one time. So I have a sort of personal dramaturg who does a lot of research for me, asks me very good questions because that's the thing is writers love good questions. We don't like prescriptions on how to fix things, but we do like a good question so that we can make sure that oftentimes our logic is where it needs to be on a piece. Because sometimes you're sitting in your office and you're just entertaining yourself. That first draft is for you. And then you send it out in the world, and then you realize the things that you might have intended didn't quite land. And so there's a time during that whole process of seeing something be workshopped, a reading, and all those different steps before you actually get to a full production that teaches you what the play is trying to be. Because sometimes you think it's one thing, but once actors get a hold of it, you learn, hey, this may be something else I intended. So you need all those collaborators to work on a piece of work. So, and it's fun. I mean,
Hmm.
we're pretty isolated beings, us writers. We sit in our room and, be hermits. And then we get to go out to rehearsal and be with fantastic actors and artistic directors and all the people that make up a team. And then we start to work on the work. And so that's when we get our socialization.
I've been asking folks this, Cheryl, and I really like where this question is kind of taking us all over. But I kind of want to zoom into that, first part when you're in your office and you're writing and you've got like your blank screen, your blank canvas. Um, do you know what you're capable of when you start a play?
You know what you're capable of in terms of you have craft. You don't know what you were capable of this particular play
Mm.
because each play takes something out of you that is very unique. And sometimes it's a type of bravery on a particular piece of work you may not have at the moment. You may not have the form that it needs. You may not have all of the characters it needs. So I know I have what it takes to complete a piece of work, but sometimes that piece of work eludes you at that moment. And sometimes you have to put it aside and work on something else. And it might just be because you're afraid of it. It might be your most honest work and you're not ready for that yet. So I think It's always about, yes, I have craft, I have skill, I have experience, and yet each work demands different parts of that or certain amounts of it. And so that is a shifting sand, as I like to say.
I love that. I think it's also like this reminder. It's this any artistry in the theater is not algebra, right? It's not like you learn this and then you go each play is going to ask something different of you.
Ex- yeah, I've written plays that come out just in one big gush, and then I've written plays that I've picked up and down 4 years
Mm.
and still trying to crack them open. Um, and sometimes that's a block that I might have about that particular work, or sometimes the mind is too cluttered because you have other demands like COVID. So, or, you know,
Yeah.
whatever's going on in the world can sometimes inhibit how much you are available to have that mental and heart space to really create work, because it takes both. The
Mm.
mental is the sort of craft that you already have and things you can draw on your experience, but the heart is what really drives it to have all the sort of dimension that you need to have.
Cheryl, you've developed work all over the country and all
Yes.
sorts of institutions, large, small, medium.
Yes.
I wonder if you can talk about like um, what are the best ingredients in your experience for how I'm thinking about the idea of like how to hold new work best, and like if you could talk about some things that being in different places has offered you. Um,
Okay. I think what I've enjoyed the most at institutions is time. You know, that's a very treasured ingredient in working on a new work. When an artistic director says, we're investing in you, that is a gift because that doesn't always happen. And when the artistic director tells you that, it's not so much dependent on the work that you're producing. They just know you're going to produce something great. And it may not be what you first started out at, and say they commission you to write a play about snow somewhere. And you in the middle of writing about snow, you said, "Oh my goodness, I really want to do rain." And they say, you know what? We've got time. We invested in you. So I think time is a really great ingredient, and not to rush the process in terms of wanting it to be a finished thing before it's ready, before you figure out what it is. I think that the sense for writers to, because we're kind of an insecure bunch sometimes, because what we do is dependent on the whims of others. If an artistic director doesn't like what we want, we don't get produced, and then we don't make a living, we can't feed our kids. So I think the sense that if someone can say to you, I believe in you, it's coming, I see it. Here's a good question I want you to go away and think about. Here's some notes if that's useful for you. I mean, the best thing I think artistic directors say to a writer is, how do you want to receive your notes?
Mm.
I love that, is that because every writer is different. Some people like things written down. Some people will take 10 pages of notes and say, yes, 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 this is really unlocking things. Other people, you get 10 pages, they're ready to kill you. Okay, so I'm like, so I'm thinking for an artistic person or artistic director or director to say, how do you best work, is a respect and an honor for the work. And I think that is really important.
You know, if we had the opportunity to like write an ad for the perfect new work audience, I'm curious what those qualities are. It could be either like aspirational, like things you would like to see, or things that you have experienced where people really embrace new work.
I think a level of curiosity, about a story outside of their direct experience, and yet in coming to that story, they discover their own humanity. I think that is starts with a sense of adventure and a curiosity. So I think for audiences to say, "Hey, I'm not familiar with that person's work, but I'd like to go check it out." I mean, what do I have to learn about the sort of common values that we have as Americans or people or parents, whatever you're writing about. I think that there's the more specific a story is, the more universal it becomes. So I go to theater and want to see new work because it's going to challenge me about the here and now. It's going to make me relate to whatever my history is and bring it to the present. I get to experience it communally. There's not a lot of experiences in our country and in our world right now where we have that sense of community, schools, churches, the theater, where we can sit next to somebody that we may or may not know and have a common experience. That's something very beautiful, uplifting, inspiring. And it also teaches us that we aren't alone. That's the beauty of theater. We can go see a story and we can go in there grumbling. "Ugh, I don't want to go to the theater today. I could be playing, golf or watching, old movies on TV." But you sit in there and you're moved in some kind of way that shows you and inspires or expands your heart in some kind of way, that you go out into the world now a little bit more resilient and a little less alone. And I think that's the tremendous gift that theater gives.
Cheryl, so we're in this moment that is like requires us to it's a moment of instinct. It's a moment of really being in the present. You and I were having a conversation on the phone about this. And I would just love on this last question, like, what are the things that are informing your present moment right now?
Well, I'm blessed to have my daughter home, one of them. I have two daughters. One is finishing up graduate school, and we have switched roles. She believes now that she is the mother and I'm the wayward child who's just itching to get into something, or she's the one that says, "Hey, let's sanitize this," or "Mom, stand 6 feet. It's 6 feet." We went to the grocery store. She finally lets me go into a grocery store with her. And then she tells me where I can stand, how to push the cart. And I remember when she was a little girl, I say, "Stay close to the cart." And now she's telling me, "That's 3 feet. That's not 6 feet, Mom." So it's like, I have totally reversed the roles. And so the beauty of it is, oh my gosh, she's going to be fine. She's going to leave in a few months to take a job in another city, but she'll be fine because she actually knows how to mother me, so she can mother herself. Okay. I think that's one of my biggest blessings, but I also think that as one of my good friends said, it's director Charles Wright said to me the other day, it's a reset time. It's a time for us to look at how we've been living, the quality of our lives, how much are we connected, and what does connection mean to us, and what is our work going to say about connection going in the future.
Cheryl, always when I talk to you, I always feel like I'm moved, I'm inspired, I laugh, and I feel that way about your work. And I cannot wait to share it with MRT audiences.
I can't wait to be there.
Yeah, as long
Right.
as my tenure at the theater is there, I cannot wait to get you there. Thank you for sharing time with us.
Thank you.
Are really
And
grateful.
I look forward to meeting your audiences. I mean, I'm excited about being there.
Yeah.
And so everybody stay safe, keep us in your prayers, and know that we have an opportunity here to connect even deeper.